You know, as I've said multiple years, I am no fan or friend of organized religion. I've been to many churches in my life, and I've told you multiple times I don't like the fact that a lot of these churches preach hypocrisy. And I told you the story years ago. I went to a church in Elk Rapids, nearby Elk Rapids, in the town of Williamsburg, called New Hope Community Church. We left because the pastor wanted $1.7 million. And on top of that, the youth pastor turned out to be a total crook by trying to steal $500,000 from his new church, and then turning around and committing suicide. He pointed a gun at his head through his mouth. So now I've been, it's like, it's so sad that a lot of churches out there are so in touch with sexual abuse. And it's a huge reason why I simply don't go to church anymore. Because, people want to go to church to meet somebody nice and, be friends and eventually have a good relationship. And sometimes, having a relationship in Christ is a blessing. And then you hear about this church here in Grand Rapids called New Chapel. Ever hear of this church? They're located at 4 Mile and 4 Mile in Alpine. Okay? They're inside the old Duthler's Family Foods shopping center. And of course, the story is Duthler's went out of business a few years ago. They had several locations throughout Grand Rapids. And then I don't know exactly why they went out of business. I know one of their stores is still a supermarket, and that is Great Giant over on Madison. That used to be a Duthler's, now it's Great Giant, which is, I believe, based out of Flint. And they got stores all over the place. But anyway, rest of the story is that New Chapel made headlines several years ago. About a year or two ago, actually, when they did a raffle for an AR-15 killing machine. And the reason why they gave out this gun was because, no joke, they gave out this gun because they believe that in the Bible it says that people need to be armed. And I'm like, what? People be armed? Guns weren't around during the times of early day Christianity. What the fuck were these people thinking? So now, so anyway, New Chapel, by the way, they want to expand into the entire building. And I hate to say it, but I've been there. I've been to New Chapel. The reason why was because my mom wanted me to go to church on one Sunday, and the story was she was church shopping, and her boss recommended New Chapel. Her boss, by the way, was a fat bitch, by the way. And what happened was we went there and did not like it. We actually went there during an ice storm. And it was like, yeah, thanks, Mom. Of course, this is what happens when you don't know much about Grand Rapids. Driving on the S-curve during an ice storm is not fun. So, anyway, we went to this stupid church, and during the sermon, people were shouting, hallelujah, and amen. Oh my God, it was so stupid. So, anyway, now New Chapel is in trouble because it turns out that one of their former youth pastors was a pedophile who molested 7 boys and was just charged in Pennsylvania for his crime. Yeah, he was a pastor at a church there. So anyway, the guy's name... Hold on just a minute here. So anyway, yeah, 7 charges. 7 charges of child sexual assault against minors, little boys. And so my thoughts are, come on, man. Really? What are you fuckers thinking? And of course the church did issue an apology, and they said, we are praying for the victims. We're praying. So all I can say is, I get angry that, it's like, anyway, I learned about this story on WGRD's website, on their Facebook page. And I was reading the comments. One person even said that, and the funny thing is, he wasn't a drag queen. It's so sad. You look at churches, you look at these religious schmucks. They, for years and years, have told everyone, we need to shut down the strip clubs. We need to shut down the drag shows. We need to shut down rock and roll. We need to basically get rid of everything good in life. And they have achieved a lot of it. And now, tragically and unfortunately, we have come to discover that the biggest problems are the churches themselves. I've seen it everywhere, folks. I see predators everywhere, every church I've been to, it seems. And I want nothing to do with it. And, it's like this new chapel is just another church that's chock-loaded with drama from the looks of things. It's like, why do people attend this god-awful church, this new chapel? You know what I do on Sunday mornings? I wake up, I go to work real early in the morning, so I'm used to going to bed a little early. I do go to bed like 10 o'clock on the weekends. Okay, so Friday, Saturday, I go to bed at about 10 o'clock. I get up on the weekends at like 7, 8 o'clock, depending on what my body tells me. And what I do on Sunday mornings is, of course, I watch, Sunday Today with Willie Geist. And then I switch over to CBS Sunday Morning with Jane Pauley. Of course, that was Willie Geist's dad, Bill Geist's old show. And, and then what happens is, about, 2/3 of the way through Sunday morning, that's kind of my cue to get off my ass and, get a shower and take my dog to the park. And of course, my dog loves, we have a little park in our neighborhood. What I do is, what she does there is, about a minute into our little trot through the park, she takes a dump and I clean it up. And she just loves this place. She loves it to death. And I'm like, I think about Christianity sometimes, and I think to myself that God really wants us to help the less fortunate. And to me, that includes dogs. Because, the dogs animals give us love and compassion and and sometimes they give more of that than actual humans. Humans, lie to us, they hurt us, they make fun of us. Dogs can't do that. All they want you to do is, to love them back, and, they ask for nothing in return, That's the cool thing about dogs. And I'd rather be with my dog than to be at a church where, here I am getting, sitting down and having to listen to somebody who doesn't know how to wipe their ass tell me what to do. And that's how I look at it. So the thing is that if you want me to go to church ever again, I mean, I'm going to tell you plain and simple. Suck my dick. Okay? I don't want to go back to your fucking church ever again. Period. End of story. I've had too much drama in my life, and I don't need more people living rent-free in my brain. You know, I was kind of introduced to the world of megachurches. You know, and I think I mentioned this a little earlier, New Hope Community Church. And a few days, you know, I gave them Bee-otch of the day a couple of times. And here's another I actually have another reason why I want nothing to do with New Hope. So, I was looking at their website one day, and I saw that they had a satellite campus. You know what a satellite campus is? It's when a church becomes so popular that they look at areas where people are coming from, and so they figure, okay, let's set up a satellite branch, and what we'll do is we'll give them, you know, we'll put we'll have a preacher there, we'll put in a live band, let them do their own thing, and then when it's time for the sermon, just go ahead and stream it straight from church to that location. That's what a lot of mega churches do. So that's what New Hope is doing. They have set up a satellite branch at this movie theater in Bel Air, which is in Antrim County. It's the county seat. Bel Air Theater. And Bel Air Theater, unfortunately, has some very shady owners. And they made major headlines in northern Michigan many years ago. So let me tell you the story. The Bel Air Theater is part of a 4-theater group called Northern Michigan Cinemas. It's made up of Bel Air Theater, the Gaylord Cinema in Gaylord, the Petoskey Cinema in Petoskey, and the only movie theater they own that is not named after the city they're in, which is the Kingston in Sheboygan, which is the only movie theater they still own that's not a new multiplex. The Kingston, by the way, was built probably late 30s, early 40s, and has 5 screens. So it's been carved and hacked a few times. So the story is, it's owned by a family called the Dawsons. Leonard and Elaine were the patriarch and matriarch. And I've met Len and Elaine many years ago. And they were actually nice people. They were kind, and they were fun to talk to. I saw a movie at the Bel Air Theater on a Sunday afternoon many years ago, and they were working the counter. They were the only employees there, and it was like, you know, even though they owned all these, I even told them, it's amazing that you own all these theaters, and you decide to come here on a Sunday afternoon when you probably could be doing something else. And they were like, well, we like doing this. You know, it's fun. And this is our child. And of course, they added on a second screen some years later, of course, that allows, of course, that's what the studios want. They want, multi-screen so they can show more movies. And of course, the studios love to put in these contracts for a couple of weeks. So if you only got one screen, you know, that's kind of bad news right there, especially if the movie's a bomb. But anyway, here's the rest of the story. So Leonard and Elaine, they actually owned 5 theaters. The 5th theater was in Mackinac City, the Courtyard. But they sold that. We'll get to that in a few moments. So what happened was the Dawsons made some really big headlines a couple of years ago Well, it was 12 years ago, 2013. Elaine was busted for tax evasion. And the reason why was because a former manager of one of their theaters stepped up and decided to report them to the IRS. So the story goes like this. This manager, their job was to call Elaine at the end of the night and tell her how much money the theater made that day. Well, apparently the Dawsons weren't treating their employees well. And it was a cash-only business as well. They, no credit cards. So what happened was Elaine reported the wrong numbers to the IRS. Apparently this person looked at their tax records and found out that they were actually writing in a loss every year. And the excuses was that, well, we're in northern Michigan and we're struggling and blah, blah, blah. And it turns out that the Dawsons were buying up cars and boats, houses, luxury items. And they wanted more money for themselves. So this is what happens. This person calls up the IRS, rats them to them, and they found Elaine liable because she was pretty much, she that's the thing about women. They tend to be the bill payer of the family. So what happened was Elaine was busted by the IRS, and a federal court found her guilty, so she ended up going to jail for a year. But other members of the Dawson family were also found liable as well. They were also not paying their taxes, but the IRS just gave them a little slap on the wrist. And the Dawsons even announced right around that time that they were going to put the courtyard up for sale because it was only making money 3 months out of the year anyway. Because, hey, it's Mackinac City. So, but in recent years, though, the courtyard had been open during the summer, the winter time, because part of it is because it's the only movie theater serving the area, pretty much. And the entire eastern part of the UP does not have a movie theater as well. As a matter of fact, not even Sault Ste. Marie, population 16,000, has a movie theater. You got to go over the border to Canada to watch a latest movie. So what happened was, when Elaine was in jail, the decision was obviously made to give the theaters to the kids. And so now it's in the hands of Leonard and Elaine's daughter, Julie. And Julie is married to a guy with the last name of Derrer. D-E-R-R-E-R. Derrer. As in the Derrer Oil Company. Ever hear of Derrer Oil? Oh boy, that's another story in itself. Derrer Oil owns several gas stations. They're affiliated with BP, by the way. Boo hiss. And during 9/11, they got into trouble. So what happened was Derrer Oil, they own 4 gas stations, 2 in Mancy-Tucky, or Mansalona, or Methalona, as I like to call it, 1 in Bel Air, and the other is in Petoskey, all BP stations. By the way, it's worth noting that the Bel Air station they own was originally owned by Julie's parents back in the 70s. It was originally called Bel Air Self-Serve, and it was an Amoco station. Well, then the Dawsons sold it to the Derrers so they could focus on buying up more theaters. So what happened was the Darrer family got themselves into deep shit because it was discovered that on 9/11, when all these... so I remembered 9/11. I remembered having to rush on over to the gas station because of rumors that gas prices were going to go up to $4, $5, $6 a gallon. And what happened was our Attorney General at the time here in Michigan said it straightforward. Any gas station that jacks up the price because of this horrible incident will be fined severely. And Darrer was busted. And guess what Darrer's excuse was? Well, our supplier told us to. Darrer supplies gasoline to their own stations. Duh. They did it. Yeah. It's like, yeah, what a bullshit excuse that was. Oh, by the way, the Attorney General at the time, the great future governor of our great state, Jennifer Granholm. Too bad she's Canadian. She would have been a great president. I love Jennifer Granholm. You did not want to fuck around with her. Oh, man. Her and her cute mole. Anyway. So, as it is, I don't go to BP gas stations because, or Amoco. I know they brought back the Amoco brand. The situation is, they were in charge of one of the worst environmental disasters in history, the Deepwater Horizon. Millions of gallons of oil spilled into the ocean, killing countless animals, wildlife. People lost. Hell, there were people who lost their jobs because it was so close to like Louisiana. Folks, I'm sorry, but if my gas gauge is at E, I don't give a fuck. If the closest gas station has that weird-ass looking flower on their sign with those little letters BP, don't expect me to buy any gas from them. Sorry, not sorry. And then, so let's go forward. And, but now I should mention that the Dawsons did sell the courtyard. And guess who they sold it to? The Leahy family. Another family that has got themselves into really deep legal shit over the years. The Leahy, now, if you ever go up to Mackinac City, that town is just chock loaded with motels because it's a big tourist trap. It always has been. And the Leahy family is this big Italian family. They've been in the hotel business since 1955. They opened up a small motel, and then they bought up another, and they bought up another, so on and so on. Now, the Leahy's, in their troubles, became front and center in 2021 when this woman named Jennifer Biala, a woman from Detroit, decided with her friends and family to go up to one of the Leahy motels in Mackinac City. And right smack dab at 12 midnight, somebody had to use the toilet, and it was clogged and it got flooded. Pardon me. Jennifer went to the front desk, and she was really hoping that somebody would just walk on up with a plunger. Nope. There was a man at the front counter who yelled at Jennifer to get out of the hotel now. It was her fault. She caused the damage. Now she's going to be kicked out. And the guy even claimed that he was even the hotel's owner. And, the guy was swearing. He was, being very unprofessional. And Jennifer, of course, shot video, which by the way was shown all over, not just all over the internet, but also on local Detroit television, because that's where Jennifer was from. So, and not only that, one thing that the guy screamed at her for doing was wearing a mask. Quit being a Democrat. I'm like, oh my God, what a douche. So Jennifer, her family, smack dab in the middle of the night, had to go back into their car and drive all the way to Gaylord to get a hotel. They were just not going to go home that night. They were tired. And this is what happened to them. They went to this hotel hoping to have the best day of their life. It didn't happen. And so, anyway, when this video made the rounds all over the internet, it obviously spread like wildfire. So what happened was, one of the Lehio brothers, who owns all these hotels and motels in Mackinac City, he apologized. He told a reporter at Channel 4 in Detroit that he was deeply sorry, and he even offered Jennifer a free night stay at one of the other hotels that they own. And Jennifer declined. I don't blame her. And why drive all the way back up there and get the same treatment? Because guess what? The Lehio family are a bunch of scumbags. There, I said it. They treat their employees like garbage. They are very fraudulent people. And, and what's even worse is the fact that they play the race cards. So what happened was, shortly after this hullabaloo regarding being kicked out of the hotel and all that, another member of the Lehio family, he stood in front of Mr. and Mrs. Lehio, the founders of the company, and he made this video and said something to the tune of, people make fun of us all the time for being Italian, and they say that we're members of the mafia, and they are racist, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, asshole, I'm sorry to break it to you, but I got this to report. Just because of your ethnicity, just because you have an ethnicity that not everybody has, doesn't make you the world's greatest business person. Just because you're black doesn't mean by default that you're the best person in town. Tyrone Bynum is the only black radio station owner in Grand Rapids. And I'll say it plain and simple. He is the worst of all the station owners. He's worse than iHeartMedia. He's worse than Cumulus and Town Square. And even all the Christian groups. Why is he a bad man? It's because he screwed over a lot of people. And, by law, he is supposed to have 1680 on the air at all times when 102.5 is on the air. Because 102.5 is a translator. It cannot be its own sovereign station. It has to simulcast another station. FCC rules. But he doesn't do that. The only time I think 1680 is on the air is if somebody from the FCC is in town. And that's it. Same with the Lehio family. Just because you're Italian doesn't make you automatically a good business owner. Not only that, But guess what? Like the Dawsons and like the Darers, they've had their own legal troubles. So what happened was, because of this video that was made, it was discovered that the Lehos started several fake websites promoting their hotels. And they made it look like they were one said it was the official website of Mackinac City. Yeah, they started a fake website called the Mackinac City Chamber of Business. And Chamber of Tourism, that's the exact term I was looking for. The Mackinac City Chamber of Tourism. And all it had on their website were these fake reviews for their hotels. They were saying that this hotel had 5 stars, this one has 4, 3, and 5, and not only that, they even started a fake travel website called Hotel Jabber. And on Hotel Jabber, once again, same reviews. So this is what happened. Our current AG, another brilliant lady, and of course, I know some people don't like her, but Dana Nessel, I love Dana. She really got on the Lehos. She forced them to pay a fine. I think it was only $5,000, but oh well. But she overlooked these sites and said, you have to change some things. And one of the things you need to point out is you need to put a disclaimer on there. And they agreed that, on the bottom of the page, the disclaimer said that this is not a real travel site or an official site. This is a website that gives you a list of family-owned hotels that have been managed and owned since 1955 and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so that's what it says. That's what they're doing, folks. They basically had a fake website and they fixed it. So there you go, folks. That's another reason why I hate New Hope. They did it, and now apparently that family, the Lehos, now own the Courtyard Cinema. And there's no official word that they own it. I know they do, because it has the same website design as their other websites. They have links to their family-owned businesses, like Mackinac, and of course they own Mackinac Crossings. So I would imagine that, the Lehos own them now. So there you go. See, this is why I don't like religion. It's like one giant mafia. And it's like on the outside, it's like, oh, we need to boycott this. We need to boycott that. They were the original kings and queens of cancel culture. Not the liberals, them. They were the ones that tell you and me, you can't do that because it says it in the big old book. We don't like gay people because of 1 Corinthians 6:9. Newsflash. I've said this once, I'll say it again. A lot of the Greek that's out there is not easily translated, including words like homosexuality. Okay? Homosexuality has been around forever, even before Jesus' time. And, what's sad is that a lot of the modern day Christians put that in there because they are racist, they are homophobic, and, they just want to start another war. That's who they are. So that's what I have to say about that. So, anyway, once again, don't expect me to go back to church, okay? Because I just don't want more bad people living rent-free in my head who want to control my life and control my finances and make me feel miserable, okay? I mean, I think you got to be in a place that can just make you happy. And I already told you about one of my happy places. It's the park with my dog. And, I mean, it's like I don't want to be associated with bad people. That's all it is. And shame on New Chapel for the fact that they decided that, let's hire a pedophile to be our youth pastor. Whatever, dude. Okay, I gotta get going. I've been yapping too much. See me later. Talk to you later. Good day and good luck. Bye-bye.